Hey man, welcome back to Man Time. Today's episode, I'm going to be digging back into this G372 XP from Holzfforma. It is not running right. I can't really figure out why from that last video where I dug into the carb, but there was two more things that I wanted to check out, and hopefully I can help you guys out. If you got one of these saws and you're having problems with it, you can't get it to tune right, maybe we can figure out the issue today. Welcome to Man Time. Yeah, so one of the reasons I started this channel was because when I started out homesteading out here in the middle of the woods by myself, 15 years ago, I was on a shoestring budget and I was having to figure everything out by myself. And making these videos, maybe there's somebody like me 15 years ago that's going through those same struggles, and now they don't have to. They've got kind of a guide going through there, So when I suggested getting this saw to my past self, these are the problems that I would have been running into, and maybe there's somebody out there running, into these same problems. But there was a couple things that I saw, and one thing I remembered when there was nothing wrong with the carb that I neglected to mention in that last one, and that is, there is a tiny, tiny O-ring gasket behind your oil pump right here, or they're supposed to be, and sometimes this saw is missing it. Second thing was, there is the impulse line coming over, and it looked like it was wet. So I'm going to check that, and we'll get in on the bench and see if one of those two things isn't what's biting us in the butt. Alright, let's start off with the more likely of the two scenarios. Even though, so the impulse line is right down here, right over there. We'll get to that next. The more likely scenario is going to be that the O-ring is missing back here. And this is going to be a pain, isn't it? Okay. Yeah, there's no way to get a screwdriver down inside there. So you've got to pry it off and then be able to get in there. Rim sprocket looks good. Clutch hub looks good. Heavy, like I said, that one like a machined part. Alright, nothing wrong so far. And we may or may not be able to get this off with just a punch. You may have to get a piston stop and put down in here. And some people have said there is fake NGK plugs. Man, that looks a whole lot like an NGK. I mean, NGKR, it says Japan stamped in the metal around the bottom there. If that isn't an NGK plug, they are really fooling me. Okay, let's try to get this clutch off of here. The clutch off of here. Best way to go about it is to find somewhere where you're up against the compression. Like it is coming down right there. Okay. And then there's little tabs that say off and an arrow. So you want to give it a good whack. Nope, that didn't do it. Yeah, and if it's not tight against something, it's definitely going to be harder. Yeah, compression is not enough. Alright, piston stop. Alright, well, I couldn't find a piece of string, which I normally have. I know I've got one in my box. Anyway, alright, so there we go. We're stopped. I just found an old piece of t-shirt. So, we got it there. Now, we want to get somewhere we can get a good purchase on it, and somewhere where it's going to kind of be not moving away from us. Come on. Alright, couple neat things here. So here's the tool. If you want to, have the right tool for the job here. This is going to be righty-loosey. It's got off with the arrow. But while I was in, digging in my go box, I did find the O-rings that are supposed to be behind there. I mean, you can just tell they are a little sliver of a thing. So I've got a couple of those on hand if we get in here and we find out it is not, you know, it's not there, basically. Okay, well, normally that just brings it right out, and this is a good gun with a full battery. So, next is going to be the socket wrench. I don't know how that didn't work, but it didn't. Sometimes that happens. Oh, I must have loosened it. And I did break it. Yeah. So two things happened. The t-shirt didn't hold the piston from rotating. Fine. And I broke the clutch. Again. Didn't learn my lesson the first time. Well, maybe that'll help you. Alright, so here's the right way to do this. So you don't break your clutch, which I've already done. Piston stop. In. Metal one. Then, with a wrench. That's too bad. You'd think I'd learn my lesson after the first 4 or 5 times. Now, it doesn't really matter if it breaks, right? Son of a gun, that's on there. Okay, well, it's already broken, so what the hell. That worked better with the piston stop. Okay, the broken chunks. Okay, there's multiple broken chunks here. And that's going to be this piece. You can see it's missing there and there. It's meant to sit back in there, like that. Now it ceases to exist. Probably still work like that, but... Okay, now we need a new clutch. Great. Hopefully that's all we damaged. Alright, next in the process here. I think I can get the oil pump off. Maybe not. Let me take this off. I usually just take the brake band off of there, but I don't think you have to. Let's get this off of here. You may not even need... Yeah, I normally just take the brake band off of there. Alright, oh, yeah, I can see it right there. Alright, let me blow this off before we get all the way in here. Tragedy averted. I found a nice used OEM one online, so I am not going to have to struggle looking. Now this thing looks kind of chewed up. This thing doesn't look great. And this is after blowing it off and stuff. But we're right here. We don't have to go any further. This little sleeve should have an O-ring behind it. Yeah, from the factory there's an O-ring that sits right back here, like I had shown there. Let's see why. There's some red stuff on here. Looks like pieces of that gasket, maybe. Alright, I'm digging in. I'm not quite sure if I see a gasket. Yeah, I don't see a gasket. Don't see a gasket back there. So, tools. had them, lost them. Yeah, so one thing you may have to do here is pull your brake band off of there, and you would have to get into there, but let's see what's behind here first. I've seen where some people have been able to do it just by kind of wrenching their brake band off of there, so maybe we'll get lucky. But yeah, right now I don't see an O-ring, but I also see a recess, kind of like a chamfer, like a really pretty good sized chamfered edge down in there also. You can probably just rotate it out of the way like that. There's like some red stuff all over in here. Let me blow this out one more time. But yeah, there's no O-ring down in there. Let me zoom you right in here. So we've actually got two problems here. The first problem is there's no O-ring. Right, there's no O-ring behind this against that, right? So it's just sitting right on that bearing. Now that does two things. One, when the bearing spins, which it will, this sleeve wants to rotate, right? Now it's not rotating right now, but at some point it was. And there's zero friction on this from the seal, right? So this, I mean, it goes in there, and the seal is basically just for looks at this point. You can see here this red, and the red that I was seeing on the inside there, that was the seal that has just, you know, basically got so hot from 3 tanks of gas that it is hard as a rock, and it's actually melded a little bit to this piece. So, the seal is horrible. I'm gonna have to get a new seal. Yeah, I'm gonna get online and order some new seals right now. Okay, let's have a little talk about this saw. I just went online, I ordered a clutch, and I ordered a replacement gasket set. Because I had, lucky me, highway gasket set for a 365-372 with both of the seals in there. So, I'm going to replace this one. I'm going to then turn it over, replace the other one, because I'm assuming both of them are bad. I do have a hack for the little O-ring gasket that's missing in this one, which is probably the downfall of this saw and this saw in general. One little O-ring brought this whole saw down. But you can get that highway gasket kit for about $12, and then I spent another $25 on a new clutch because I ruined that one. Probably my fault, but I'm going to blame it on the saw. Even though I've done the same thing for an OEM one. But anyways, let's get in here and remove this gasket and replace it out, and then I'll show you my hack for the O-ring so you don't have to buy the expensive Husqvarna one. Let's get in here. Alright, so this O-ring I don't like and I don't trust, and so I am removing it. What you need, and what I did here, was take a, just a regular flathead screwdriver, and I cut in and out and then around here. So I've got a nice hook where I can come in here, hook in, and then pry out and get this out of here. And yeah, we're peeling off some red stuff with it. Yeah, so that, yeah. It's not a good seal design, right? It's a single ring of rubber with the spring around it. Not great. Not great. Alright, I'm going to blow that out with brake clean and then put in the new seal. Alright, so this one is basically impossible to film, right? I've got to have it on something hard. And so I've got my highway gasket here. And I'm going to run it down. Now, it's not touching anything on the on the inside. It's only touching on the outside. And I found a socket that fits it really nicely. So I'm just going to gently hammer it in here. It was just below the lip. It's going in a little crooked. So let's see if I can get it out of there before we get too far here. I hammered it down just a little too far. And this is this is why you always want 2 of these. Okay, I was able to pop it out of there. No damage. Let's double check. Oh, times like these where I just get super stressed. Okay, no, we're all good. Okay. Yeah, I beat it down on one side thinking it wasn't quite lined up, and it rammed it down on that side. So let's get it most of the way there. And then if you're like wanting to get it kind of started, you can use just a regular punch. Because oftentimes it's not gonna want to go in there straight, right? So you want to kind of line it up to go in there straight. Alright, I think that's as good as it's going to get, and we'll do the rest with the socket. See, right now it's not wanting to go in there straight. But if I use the socket and get like more surface area around where it's kind of sticking up, we're going to have a lot better chance here of it doing what we want it to do. Yes, got it. Okay. So now it's going in there perfectly straight, like it's even all the way around there. So, yeah, I can guarantee this was the fault of the saw. Where it just wasn't sealing real well. High over here. And a little high back here. Okay, I think we did it. We're just below the lip, and we're square all the way around. Let me show you. Alright, so there is our finished product, square all the way around, just below the lip. Looks good. Alright, next is my trick for sealing this sleeve, which again, didn't have the little bitty O-ring to begin with. But I can already see it's going to have a much better seal. The problem is, it leaks through the inside of this sleeve, right? So let's get a little lube on here. Alright, I just slipped that sleeve down in there with some lube. It's in there good, and it went in there good, and now it's nice and tight. So the next thing I'm going to show you is my hack for if that little O-ring is missing behind that sleeve, and that is going to be this little O-ring right here. So we're going to put a little lube on this. A little bit more lube on there. And it just slips over this, right? And then it actually fills up the gap in between the clutch and the sleeve. And it sits right up and kind of inside the sleeve. So it's sealing the inside of the sleeve to the crankshaft, and that's what we want, right? So I have every confidence that is going to do exactly what we want it to do. Let's see, was this on the outside of the sleeve? Yeah, it sure was. Yeah. And then, let's see. Yeah, then oil. Alright, oil pump back in. That there, that goes against that. Yes, yes, and yes. So you can see that O-ring seating right there. Don't lose that. That's probably an expensive little gasket. Okay, oil pump back in. Let's get these screws back in. And we are going to have a now sealed up bottom end. I am going to change the one behind the flywheel, but just keep this in mind. This is what you're going to have to go through if you get one of these saws. Like I said, I am, I think I can see straight through. Yeah, I'm going to put some Loctite on these. Yeah, so nice big dollop of Loctite on these here. It looks like these are actually sealing the case as well, and there was nothing on these. You could also put some actual sealant on these if you're concerned about the crankcase being sealed from these screws. Get this off of here for a minute. There we go. Yeah, there's actually a little recess. So the order of operations, I guess, is to get these in first before you put that on, because there's a recess here that was starting to kind of get the bolt cross-threaded there. Alright, so we are now sealed on this side. We've got a new crank seal. We've got the seal that this O-ring is going to provide. Now, when the clutch screws on here, which could be right now, if it wasn't broken. I'll have to wait for that to come in the mail. It would probably work like this, kind of. But yeah. I'm not gonna take that chance, right? Alright, so this is gonna be, not only will it run, but how does it run after it warms up, right? Because one thing we want to check is how is the tune coming off of this amount of new sealed bottom end. Alright, so I've let it warm up for a few minutes, and it seems to be running pretty consistently. Tune hasn't changed that much. So we'll start it up here, see what it sounds like, and then check the turns out on the carb adjustment screws. Okay, I think that fixed the majority of the leak issues. I'm still going to run around this other side, fix that, but let's get in on the bench, see where we're at for the carb settings. Man, there is one thing, that's for sure. This oils like nobody's business. So oiler works amazing. All right, half, one, yeah, the high jet is still at one turn, where it seems to be doing, pretty good. So half, one, and then on the low jet, we got half, one, 1.5, 1 3/4. So half, 1, 1.5, and then the 3/4 was in there. All right, so we're down to 1.5 and 1. So that is actually pretty typical of a factory setting, or what you would see for one of these. So I'm going to call that good. It was spitting back just a little bit there, but I don't know why it would want to run below 1 turn on high, when it's in its stock form. But when I was rotating it on its side there, it seemed to be pretty happy as far as the bottom end pressure. Now, one thing I did want to look at, I blew all this off down in here. Wanted to look for any moisture or anything off of this tube. I don't see any. All right, past me. That's how you fix up your junky, cheap Chinese clone saw that you purchased. Probably next time, I don't know. I still don't know. I mean, this was only $12, and had I removed that clutch the right way, which would be piston stop and a ratcheting wrench that you actually turn over, I wouldn't have broken that clutch. So I'd be all in for $12 right now, and a Harbor Freight kit of O-rings. That O-ring probably cost about a penny, or a fraction of a penny, because this set was probably only like $10, So for those two things right there, some basic hand tools, I've got more than enough out here. But yeah, a couple, flatheads, Phillips head. I did use the clutch tool. You're probably actually going to want to get one of these. That's going to be this right here. If you look up Husqvarna clutch removal tool on eBay, several of these will pop up. Pick the cheapest one, and there you go. But yeah, I think the downfall was this O-ring on the clutch side. Yeah, and you saw there, it's not a good design, right? The good ones have like a curved inside or a double-lipped inside, which the Highway one did. Like it was a very abrupt, like sealing surface, and when that sleeve went back in there, it was a sealed unit, sealed case, and that's what a two-stroke needs, right? Without that, you have a saw that runs like crap. So I'm going to dig in here, replace out the flywheel side, and then we'll eventually put it back in the wood. Still got a lot of firewood to do, so that'll be upcoming. But make sure to subscribe for those episodes. Give a thumbs up, and yeah, see you on the next one. Get out there, have you some man time too.